Hello and welcome to New Central Television. I am Lekon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. Governor Fubara says his government will abide by the Supreme Court's judgment on lingering political crisis in Rivers State. Nigeria Labour Congress threatens mass action if government proceeds with planned telecoms tariff hike. 9 gunmen, 1 soldier killed as Beninese army engages militants in offensive operation. Details to come your way shortly. New Central now at this hour begins in Rivers State, where the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has assured the people of the oil-rich state that his administration will implement the Supreme Court's verdict after carefully reviewing its certified true copy. This followed the Friday judgments of the Apex Court, which declared the local government election conducted in the state on October 5, 2024 as invalid. In a state broadcast on Sunday, Fubara confirmed that he had met with his legal team and expects to receive the certified true copy of the ruling by Friday, March 7, 2025. He emphasized his administration's commitment to upholding constitutional principles and acting in line with the law.
We are all aware of the recent Supreme Court's judgment and the pronouncement regarding aspects of the lingering political dispute in our dear state. Although we disagree with the judgment, we are bound to obey the order made therein as a law-abiding government. Since inception, we have conducted the affair of government within the framework of our Constitution, due process, and the rule of law. While we are not above mistakes, because we are humans, we believe that we have not, as a government, done anything deliberately to trample on the rule of law or the hallowed principles of constitutional governance. Accordingly, I've had a meeting with my team of lawyers, and they have assured me that the certified true copy of the judgment may be available to them by Friday, the 7th March of 2025. I assure you that upon the receipt of certified judgment, we shall study the ramification and implement them without reservation to move the state forward. Furthermore, given the outlawing of caretaker arrangements in the local government system, I hereby direct Head of Local Government Administration to immediately take over the administration of the 23 local government council, pending the conduct of a fresh election by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I further direct that the outgoing local government chairman to formally hand over to the Head of Local Government Administration by Monday, the 3rd of March 2025. Although our dear state seems to be back in trying time, I urge everyone to remain calm and peacefully go about with their legitimate daily activity as we continue to do everything in our power to advance our responsibility to the citizen. Thank you, and may God.
Well, to discuss this, we're joined by a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Henry Ekene. Mr. Ekene, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to join you this evening.
You're welcome. Now, Governor Fubara did not have any other choice than to obey the Supreme Court ruling, did he?
Yes, the Supreme Court is the final court in our legal system. It is final, not because it's infallible. That is to say, it's not because they are not capable of making mistakes or entering judgments that may be dissatisfying to parties. But whether you're dissatisfied, it does appear that we've come to the end of the road in the legal system. So the governor and then the government of Rivers State even has expressed their dissatisfaction with the outcome or with the decision of the Supreme Court, but they have no choice but to abide by the orders of the court.
And talking about making mistakes, was the local government election conducted in the state on October 5 last year a violation of the Constitution and Electoral Act?
Yeah, if you ask me personally, I would say that the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria have for themselves their State Independent Electoral Commission established pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution. And the respective states' houses of assembly have made laws pursuant to Section 7 of the Constitution with respect to local government administration, including the composition and structure of local government. These are provisions of the Constitution. It is in that regard that houses of assembly have established the respective electoral commission law. So in Rivers State, you have the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission law. And that is the principal legislation that I believe and I think should coordinate or guide or provide for the conduct of elections into local government council. It is not the Electoral Act, with respect. However, even if it is required that the voter register to be used in any election in any state, howbeit council election, shall be that voter register compiled by INEC, it meant that the responsibility or involvement in INEC in any local government election ends at the point that the voter register to be used shall be that has been compiled and made available by INEC. But I think I'm also yet to get the judgment and then the order of the Supreme Court as considered. So like I said, the Supreme Court is the final court. The justices of the Supreme Court, with utmost respect to them, but I am a lawyer, and then in the legal profession, we can review judgments when they are passed. There have been attempts to review judgments and decisions of the Supreme Court. It's not the first. So I would have thought that in considering the propriety or otherwise of the conduct of election in the local government, it should be on the basis of the local government law of that state or the Independent Electoral Commission of that state. And that is why after the election tribunal was set up in the state by law. And then the law is that the trial tribunal of the state, as set up by the chief judge, will consider complaints about the election. And then you have the appellate tribunal as well. I understand and I know that this issue arose pre-election, but whether the All Progressives Congress could question the procedure for the conduct of local government election based on the provisions of the Electoral Act, I think as a scholar and a constitutional scholar, I would also study further and then also study the judgment of the Supreme Court.
Okay, now we understand that all these stem from the defection of the state's 27 lawmakers, including Martin Amiruli, the Speaker. But then, what is the position of the law as regards political defection in Nigeria?
Oh, great. The issue about the local government that we just finished has nothing to do with the 27 former lawmakers in the Rivers House Assembly and their defection. That's important to state.
Now, I'm actually looking at, I'm looking at the political tussle and upheaval that we've seen play out in Rivers State. So I'm pulling it from what had happened as at the time that we saw some members in the State Assembly defect to another party.
Absolutely. So then the position of the law, the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria with respect to vacancy or defection, as the case may be, of any House of Assembly in the state, in any of the 36 states, is Section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G. And then, of course, it goes on. I would also mention subsection 2. And then the purpose of that section, or the intendment of the drafters of our Constitution, is that we have to cure a mischief, where before then, there used to be, if you like, every morning, afternoon, and evening, legislators will be cross-carpeting or leaving political parties, platforms that sponsor them into the House to other political parties without consequence. They call that the requirements for qualification for election in our Constitution include being sponsored by a political party. So when that mischief had to be cured, we had the provision of Section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G, to the effect that you don't unduly abandon the political party that sponsored you to that house and then cross to another, even in expressing your right that you shouldn't do so. The implication is that you do that, you lose your seat automatically. That's the clear provision of the Constitution. Even when some have argued that there is a proviso, the proviso is to the effect that only where there is a splintering or a division in the political party that sponsored you. Now let's fast forward to decisions of the Supreme Court. This matter had come to the Supreme Court not once, not twice. And the Supreme Court of Nigeria have actually entertained and determined clearly the effect of such defection pursuant to Section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G, that the effect is automatic and mandatory, that such legislator will lose his seat. The Supreme Court has also explained clearly what the splintering or the division that the Constitution envisaged in such a way that if at all the defector is claiming that his defection is justified, the Supreme Court has clearly established what that purported division or splintering would be. So the argument here is that in the case of Rivers State, the 27 former law members are not in doubt that they defected, because it was the valid proceedings of the Rivers State House of Assembly on the 11th of December 2023, without prompting, without anybody instigating them, even when they intended to do that, they were the ones that called the entire media in this country to the proceedings of that house that day, and it was valid, presided over by Martin Amewule. And the respective members, these 27 or the other 26, clearly wrote to the Speaker about their leaving the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. That is the defection. The Speaker read out these letters and himself taking the same action. So it meant that the concept or the action of defection had taken place. Beyond that, they had other activities in Port Harcourt and elsewhere that they confirmed their defection, including swearing to an oath in the proceeding in the Federal High Court that they also filed later, that they had actually defected from the All Progressive Congress to the from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. So with all of these, they had ceased to be members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. They were the ones who would have to go to court to say their defection was justified.
So that means the Supreme Court's ruling retaining these lawmakers is not right, technically.
Now, but let me state something before I probably suggest whether it's right or not. The Supreme Court has not determined the appeal before them or any of the appeals. There are other appeals before the Supreme Court, however. Any of the appeals that is in connection or in the semblance of the issue of defection and the fate of the 27 former law members, the Supreme Court has not determined that.
Okay.
The question that the Supreme Court had to answer in affirming the decision of Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik of the Federal High Court was with respect to the presentation of appropriation bill before a Rivers State House of Assembly that was considered at that time by 4 persons or 5 persons as the case may be. So suffice it that the justices of the Supreme Court were looking at a file different from the other file that would have to do with the defection, which has not come for judgment. I have said that in proceedings in courts, a judge does not go on a voyage of discovery of his own on the wide sea, seeking to answer a question that is not before him. So it means that if the Supreme Court has not decided, and I understand that that has been deferred, the judgment has been reserved on one of the appeals that may have a semblance in that issue. So I wouldn't quite say that the justice erred in terms of asking Martin Amewule and the other 26 members to resume sitting. They could do so with respect to that particular action that originated in the Federal High Court that has gone to the Supreme Court. Just like I have analyzed Justice Omotoshaw's case, which was purely about the fear that the National Assembly was going to take over the proceedings of the Rivers State House of Assembly principally. And then Martin Amewule went to court to seek the order of court to restrain that. So, but that matter went on until Omotoshaw delivered judgment in January of 2024. So even if he ordered that Martin Amewule and his other colleagues were the legitimate House of Assembly to present appropriation bills to, for, just as Justice Abdul-Malik, then and those processes were filed.
Yeah, I understand. We might not be able to.
So the issue of defection, I think they will give justice to that, and that will not be surprising if it turns the tide at that time. Okay,
we might not be able to stretch the conversation further than this, but then thank you so much for your clarification, Henry Kinney, on this matter on the news.
Thank you very much. Always my pleasure to be on News Central.
Of course. Moving on now, an Abia State High Court, under the leadership of Justice Okeke Ebuka, has altered the enforcement of the suspension of former Senate President and Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, Adolphus Wabara. Justice Ebuka issued an order restraining the Abia PDP leadership led by Elder Abraham Amma from carrying out the suspension. This legal action follows a suit filed by Wabara, who sought an injunction to prevent the enforcement of the suspension. A few weeks ago, Elder Amma announced Wabara's suspension, accusing him of anti-party activities after Wabara publicly praised Governor Alex Oti's efforts in the reconstruction of Port Harcourt Road in Aba. The National Working Committee of the PDP quickly intervened, declaring the suspension null and void, stating it violated the party's constitution. Earlier, political analyst and social commentator Lanre Toluhi spoke to us on this.
Have no power, they have no constitutional power, constitutional rights to actually suspend any member of the National Executive Committee of the PDP, because the PDP constitution as reviewed, as amended in 2017, has stated it clearly that you can't suspend a member of the National Executive Council, not to talk the chairman of the Board of Trustees. But it just goes to show how some people will condone impunity or decide to go rogue and in the disguise of trying to carry out their duties. I think if anybody needs to be suspended in the PDP, if the PDP is a serious party, it should be this chairman that actually made that pronouncement, because I think what he was trying to do was to stir up an anarchy in their party, and it shouldn't be condoned. For him to have thought of that, he knew it was wrong. He just wanted to cause an anarchy in the party, or to add fuel to the fire already consuming the PDP, because it is obvious PDP is imploding, and people like the Ama are getting away with all they want to do. And it shows that people like the Ama or the Abia State Legal School, our Abia State Executive Council of the PDP seems to be puppet in the hand of the puppet master or the puppeteer that is playing with them and doing that. And you know that all these things that you're talking of that happened, they never actually had issue with Senator Adolfo Swaba.
We'll now go on a short break. When we return, we'll tell you about a new political party called TNN pushing the narratives for the 2027 elections. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll now tell you that a new political party known as Team New Nigeria has emerged in Kano State and says that it has successfully registered 43 million citizens across the country. Members of the new party made this known in the Kano state capital while unveiling its logo at the Kano Pillars Stadium in the state. The party's national president, Modibo Fadakwai, also inaugurated 8 committees tasked with advancing the party's registration process and revealed that the Membership Registration and Harmonization Committee will be chaired by federal lawmaker Ibrahim Muhammad.
We want to form a political party devoid of ethnic background, religion affiliation, a party that will truly represent the interests of the collective interests of Nigeria, that will promote good governance and ensure rule of law and ensure security of life and property and fight corruption and misgovernance. Sure, we have all it takes to run the Federation of Nigeria as in government. We have very competent people, well-experienced people with untainted record. They have very good background. So we have people, unlike what you have in the present Bola Tinubu's government, where there is too much unaccountability and unseriousness. You see this TNN, as you see, it's been formed by Nigerians, collegial kind of political party. We don't collect money from people. We form it by Nigerians who want a real change, a real progressive governance. We fund it, we promote it, and reach this level, and determined to change the government in 2027.
Now, the Nigeria Labour Congress has warned of mass protests if the federal government proceeds with a telecommunications tariff hike beyond the agreed terms. This decision was made at the NLC National Executive Council meeting in Yola, Adamawa State, where the union also launched CNG-powered mass transit buses for the Northeast Zone. The NLC also rejected the reclassification of electricity consumers, calling it an attempt to unfairly increase tariffs. The union urged its affiliates to prepare for decisive action against anti-people policies, vowing resistance to any further electricity price hikes. It also pledged to reclaim and restructure the Labour Party, ensuring it represents the interests of workers. Away from that now, the Court of Appeal in Lagos has rejected a request by the senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, to ban public officers from seeking medical treatment abroad. Justice Polycarp Turner-Kohar, reading the judgment on behalf of the three-man panel, stated that preventing public officers from seeking medical care overseas would infringe upon their fundamental rights. The court affirmed the decision of the Federal High Court in Ikeja, which had been delivered on January 10, 2021. Falana had previously argued that the government's failure to properly equip public hospitals violated Nigerians' right to health and sought an order to prevent public officials from using public funds for foreign medical treatment. Now, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has made significant drug busts, thwarting multiple trafficking attempts. On Monday, February 24, NDLEA operatives arrested auto spare parts dealer Okeke Ebuka Igwe at the Murtala Muhammed International Airport in Lagos after attempting to send 1.10 kilograms of cocaine concealed in vehicle propellers to Angola. Igwe, who claimed to be a businessman at ASPANDA Trade Fair Complex, was detained following credible intelligence. Additionally, on Sunday, February 23, Ezechi Cyprian was arrested while transporting 5.40 kilograms of cocaine to Owerri in a Toyota Sienna after weeks of surveillance. On February 28, a joint operation at Tincan Seaport led to the discovery of 128 parcels of Canadian loud cannabis hidden in 2 mattresses inside a Toyota Venza imported from Canada. So about human trafficking. No fewer than 20,197 Nigerians who were stranded in various countries have voluntarily returned to their homeland. This repatriation was facilitated through the International Organization for Migration's Assisted Voluntary Return and Reintegration Program, with support from the federal government and Nigerian missions abroad. According to data from the IOM, women and girls make up nearly 88% of the returnees, while men represent 13%. The majority of returnees are between the ages of 18 and 39, with the 18 to 25 age group being particularly vulnerable to trafficking. Disturbingly, many returnees reported being trafficked by friends or acquaintances, with 46.6% of female and 53.2% of male victims falling prey to traffickers. Now, in Nigeria's northeast, the federal government has begun the reconstruction of Alau Dam in Borno State, with officials asserting that the project will significantly improve the region's water infrastructure. The ceremony, which took place at Alau Dam, marks a renewed effort to revitalize the state's essential infrastructure after the devastation in September 2024. News Central's Umar Karawa completes the report.
Sad reminder of the 10th September flood disaster that ravaged Maiduguri, Jere and other parts of Borno State. The collapse of dikes caused by years of neglect is believed to have been instrumental. Nigeria's Federal Executive Council, led by President Bola Tinubu, has approved 80 billion naira for the reconstruction and upgrade of the dam.
The Nigerian government has since begun the reconstruction and upgrade of the Alau Dam that led to the devastation of lives and properties on 10 September 2024 in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. And the hope of the people is that this effort will forestall future occurrence of flooding and help improve economic activities as well as farming, particularly irrigation, in this part of the world.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation have pledged their support that this project within the stipulated project period of 24 months, enormous and quality work will be delivered.
Government of Borno State under my leadership, and indeed the people of Borno State and this very important community,
will provide the needed support to you for you to succeed.
The reconstruction of the Alau Dam was said to be in phases to include critical interventions to mitigate immediate flood risks, desilting and structural enhancements targeted for October 2025.
This groundbreaking ceremony is a testament to the federal government's unwavering commitment to rebuilding Borno State, not just in terms of physical infrastructure, but in restoring the livelihoods of dignity and dignity of our citizens.
At the inauguration, officials highlighted that the dam's restoration will lead to greater food security, help reduce rural poverty, and support sustainable agricultural practices.
To muna bukatan al'amarin ayyukanmu na kama kifin da muke yi shine suka lalace muna yanzu nan bamu da wasu abubuwan da muke amfani da su shine muke neman alfarma a gwamnati.
Timely completion of the reconstruction and upgrade of the Alau Dam is critical to prevent flooding, particularly as the rainy season draws closer. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
The governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, says the Executive Order 001 recently signed into law to suspend all illegal mining activities in the state is in the interest of residents of the state, ensuring that lives and property are secured. Details of the executive order was reeled out by the State Commissioner for Environment during an extraordinary press conference by the enforcement and technical team for the order. Our correspondent in Jos, the Plateau State capital, Chizoba Igwe, was there and now tells us more.
It wasn't the usual press conference held at intervals in the state. The presence of heads of all security agencies in the state, including those of ministries, departments and agencies, underscored the importance of this briefing. The essence of this meeting is to drive home the intentions of government in ensuring that the level of environmental degradation occasioned by activities of illegal mining is brought to a halt.
February 21st, 2025, His Excellency Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang signed Executive Order 001, 2025, suspending all illegal mining activities across Plateau states. This decisive action was born out of the governor's shared responsibility to protect lives and property from the escalating threats of insecurity emanating from mining activities and unregulated mining operations within the states.
The formation of artisan mining cooperatives among the illegal miners in the state is one key measure to achieving a safer environment on the plateau.
It's like a step forward towards becoming licensed miners ourselves. So it is for us to take that message down too. We would continue and we will not stop at this point to educate our people.
Major stakeholders are not left out of this move to salvage the already degrading environment.
We have the capacity to deploy our men to everywhere. Definitely all the sites. We've just started with some and we've restored sanity. And those who think that they will disobey or contravene these directives, we just want to assure you that we'll come after you.
We are going to work with the committee with using our regulations, so that will help the state have a holistic approach to it.
We are in total support of what the government is doing as far as their own responsibilities of bringing security and safety and peace and harmony to the society.
With this order now in place, any illegal miner will face the wrath of the law if caught in breach of it going forward. In Plateau, for News Central, Chizoba Anyoe.
From North Central back to core North, the Kano state government has been called to invest on citizens in the grassroots to boost small and medium-scale businesses in Nigeria. This was during an empowerment program in Fage local government area of the state, where 250 women received support from the state government as part of efforts to reduce poverty in the state. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more. Well, definitely we'll bring you details of this particular report in our subsequent bulletins. Let's bring you other stories now. Hiking for many is often seen as a sport. Its popularity among a new generation of youths in Abuja has continued to soar. A New Central Television correspondent, Idong Joseph, joined a group of over 80 hikers in the nation's capital to get a first-hand experience as they test the limits to their emotional and physical strengths and bring us this report.
It's a sunny morning and the air is alive with over 80 eager hikers, some experienced while others first-timers. For many, the hike is more than just a physical test, but a journey to discover the limits to their emotional resilience, building skills of teamwork and personal growth. As they ascend the surrounding hills, every step under the scorching sun is a test to their willpower.
When I came, it was difficult, though, because it's my first time, so it was very difficult. At a point, I was tired and weak. I was assisted by one of our hikers.
I noticed that I drink more water anytime I go more hiking. And again, I feel more relieved. Like this stiff and tiredness, I feel more relieved whenever I come for hiking.
Everything happened beyond my expectation, and it's fun actually, and it has been fun, and as well frustrating, but it's enjoyable as well.
Reaching the top is not just a personal victory achieved through discipline and endurance, but celebrating a shared triumph achieved and reinforcing the spirit of friendship and togetherness. Beyond physical endurance, connections are being built along the trail, which will not end at the mountain's peak. Many hikers say the journey has helped them build friendships, create business opportunities, and even land jobs.
I have a couple of people who have been able to get 1 or 2 contacts with, who have been able to get 1 or 2 jobs, who have been able to get 1 or 2 small contracts as much as our power can meet. So it's a vision coming true.
I've made new friends. I've gotten some links to jobs. As an engineer, a lot of people in the hiking group have contacted me for 1 or 2, and we've been able to do 1 or 2 things.
In a world where digital screens often replace human interaction, activities like this offer a space for real connections and building friendships.
The inspiration is just, is born out of, the feeling to explore nature, have that moment time away from, the common civilization that we all know about. And it's something very interesting. As you can see, we have everybody having fun today.
In the end, this hike becomes more than just a fitness activity. It is a reminder that life's toughest climbs are easier when you have people beside you. In Abuja for New Central, Idong Joseph.
The news continues in West Africa, where we understand that clashes in northern Benin Republic over the last week between armed groups and the military have resulted in 10 deaths, including 1 soldier, amid an increase in attacks on army positions. The military launched an offensive operation overnight on Thursday down into Friday, killing 9 gunmen in the commune of Kiramama, close to the Niger border. This followed an attack in nearby Kantoro, where an improvised explosive device killed 1 soldier and injured 2 others. The rise in violence, often attributed to jihadist groups moving from neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger, has heightened concerns about the spillover of insurgency into Benin Republic. The attacks in the north, near conflict zones in the Sahel, are part of a broader regional crisis linked to groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Outside of the African continent, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has unveiled a 4-step plan to secure peace in Ukraine following a summit with European leaders in London. He emphasized that while Europe must do the heavy lifting, support from the US remains crucial. He confirmed that UK, France, and other European nations have agreed to collaborate with Ukraine to end the conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is also meeting with King Charles at Sandringham Estate. Additionally, Starmer announced the UK government will allocate £1.6 billion of export finance to help Ukraine purchase over 5,000 air defense missiles. However, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen cautioned, in a quote, "It's important we prepare for the worst," end of quote.
I do not accept that the US is an unreliable ally. The US has been a reliable ally to the UK for many, many decades and continues to be. There are no two countries as closely aligned as our two countries, and our defence, our security and intelligence is intertwined in a way no two other countries are. So it's an important and reliable ally for us. Discussions we've had today, particularly the Coalition of the Willing, is on the basis that this is a plan that we will work with the US and that it will have US backing. So that is the purpose of the plan, and that is why I spoke to President Trump last night before we developed the work on this plan. The whole point of a guarantee for any deal, or if there is a deal, is to preserve the peace. And if you want to preserve the peace, you have to be prepared to defend the peace. So the reason I've been forward-leaning on this is because I want to avoid conflict, because I do not want conflict in Ukraine, in Europe, and certainly not.
Meanwhile, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has stated that Israel will not accept a ceasefire unless hostages are released. Speaking at a press conference in Jerusalem alongside his Croatian counterpart, Gordon Grlic Radman, Sa'ar emphasized that securing the release of hostages remains a critical condition for any potential ceasefire agreement.
Second, are you going to give this ceasefire for free without hostages to be released? This is something we will not accept. So yes, we are ready to negotiate on the second phase according to our principles. We also agreed to the American proposal to a longer framework of further 50 days during the Ramadan and the Passover, but in this framework, according to the American proposal, a release of hostages.
Tajikistan holds a parliamentary election on Sunday, with citizens voting to maintain members of parliament loyal to President Emomali Rahmon in the lower house. The 71-year-old former head of a Soviet-era collective farm has led the mountainous Central Asian state since 1992. Under his three-decade rule, political opposition has been marginalized, ensuring its continued control. The election is widely seen as a mechanism to reinforce Rahmon's grip on power, with little room for political dissent in the tightly controlled state. Rahmon's leadership in the mountainous Central Asian country has faced little challenge, with its influence firmly entrenched across political institutions.
In business, we begin in Lagos, Nigeria, where the state government has released the 2025 land use charge bills, granting property owners a 15% discount for payments made within 30 days. Commissioner for Finance Abayomi Oluyemi made the announcement in a statement on the state government's official website, emphasizing the land use charges role in funding infrastructure and public services. He further encouraged property owners to fulfill their civic duty, stressing that timely payments drive Lagos transformation into a modern, thriving city. And still in West Africa, but this time in Ghana, the Bank of Ghana has introduced new anti-money laundering guidelines for forex bureaus to strengthen compliance and reduce risk exposure. The rules cover anti-money laundering reporting officer roles, regulatory cooperation, customer due diligence, risk assessment, and suspicious transaction monitoring. They also outline reporting requirements to enhance transparency. The Bank of Ghana warned that forex bureaus face financial and reputational risks from illicit activities if they fail to implement proper controls. These measures aim to mitigate risks and safeguard Ghana's financial system from money laundering and terrorist financing threats. And finally, outside the continent, U.S. President Donald Trump has named 5 cryptocurrencies for inclusion in the planned U.S. Crypto Strategic Reserve, causing a market surge. Trump announced that his general executive order on digital assets would include Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, Solana, and Cardano, previously undisclosed. Following the revelation, crypto markets rallied, with Bitcoin rising 8% to $19,828 and Ether up 8.3% to $2,409. Other selected assets surged between 8% and 62% as investors responded to the news, reflecting growing institutional and political interest in cryptocurrency adoption. And that's a package and business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly.
In sports, Nigerian athlete Nathaniel Ezekiel set a new African record at the 12 Indoor Championships in the US. Meanwhile, in football, FA Cup holders Manchester United suffer a shock exit from the tournament. Favor Itwa has more.
CEO of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, has praised Nigerian-born American football player Moro Ojomo for his Super Bowl victory with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2025. Dabiri-Erewa commended Ojomo's success and thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for pledging to honor him with a national award. During his visit to the NICOM's headquarters in Abuja, Ojomo expressed his pride in representing Nigeria, attributing his achievements to his Nigerian upbringing. He has committed to investing in Nigerian youth by establishing an academy to prepare them for the 2028 Olympics.
When you see Nigerians succeed in anything, you want to be involved in it, right? So that's the goal. Nigerians doing well in American football and ultimately just learning it. I believe it's not popular because they don't understand it. It's the most popular sport in America, right? So that shows that that sport has traction. So that's kind of the exposure. And there's a lot of work that they're doing with the flag football team. Some tryouts in Lagos right now. You know, I think they want to get them ready for the Olympics in 2028, right? So yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, I think that when your success in life is a direct correlation of the people that are around you and what they point to you.
I thank Mr. President for conferring on you, promising to confer on you a national honor. That is inspiring to younger generation of Nigerians, you know, to encourage you that this is home. Home will always be home. No matter how much you excel abroad, home will always be home. And we thank you for making us so proud. And I know that you're passionate about your country, you're passionate about the younger Nigerians, and you want to make a difference in their life.
And out to football, Remo Stars maintained their lead in the Nigerian Premier Football League with a 1-0 victory over Plateau United at the Remo Stars Stadium in Ikene. Samson Olashukpo's 74-minute goal secured the crucial win after a tense stalemate. Elsewhere, Kano Pillars edged defending champions Enugu Rangers 2-1, while Ikorodu City defeated Heartland 2-0. Eyimba secured a narrow 1-0 away win against Niger Tornadoes, and Bayelsa United claimed a 2-1 victory over Bendel Insurance. Still talking football, Manchester United's FA Cup defense ended in a heartbreak as Fulham triumphed 4-3 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in extra time. Calvin Bassey fired Fulham ahead before Bruno Fernandes equalized in the 71st minute. Despite United's dominance in recent seasons, they suffered their first fifth-round exit since 2006. Fulham held firm, forcing a tense shootout where they held their nerve to secure a historic win. This marks their second quarter-final appearance in 3 seasons, fueling hopes of a deep cup run. For United, it is another disappointing chapter in a turbulent campaign. The Director General of the National Sports Commission, Honorable Bukola Olopade, has praised the Nigerian Aquatic Federation for hosting the inaugural Swim to Future Championship, a competition for children aged 6 to 14. Olopade emphasized the need to develop young athletes early, aligning with President Bola Tinubu's vision under National Sports Commission Chairman Shehu Diko. He highlighted the importance of infrastructure and funding to nurture young swimmers for global competition. To sustain momentum, he has challenged the Federation to organize a national swimming competition within 2 months. And to wrap up sports updates, Olympian Nathaniel Ezekiel delivered a sensational performance at the Big 12 Indoor Championships, clocking 44.74 seconds to win the men's 400-meter final.
And that's all at this hour.